Starting a business looks exciting. Behind the scenes, it's full of uncertainty, mistakes, and hard decisions. I'm Priti Ruparan. On the Business Blueprint podcast, entrepreneurs share their highs and lows and how they practically applied real business school lessons while building their companies. This is real conversation and practical learning. Welcome to the Business Blueprint podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Business Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Preeti Ruparan. Now, today's episode, we are recording in a much pleasant and warmer weather. And I personally cannot wait for the upcoming Easter long weekend. I just want to pack my warmer clothes and bring out the colorful spring and summer clothes from my closet. And this makes me think that just the way we adjust to the different seasons of the year, we dress up and how we show up, immigrant entrepreneurs also go through a similar process. They move from their home country to a new country with their family and business. And they have no option but to learn to adapt because this is a new ecosystem for them. This is a new dynamism they have to learn. And they have to learn how to position themselves and their business in this new ecosystem. And that's what the focus is for this episode, the journey of adaptation. And what works in one country, it's not necessary will work in the new country as well. So we need to learn from these immigrant entrepreneurs. How are they molding themselves in this new ecosystem? And we have a fabulous entrepreneur here to share his experience. We have Deepinder Singh, founder and CEO of Prudle Labs here with us. Now, Prudle Labs is a language technology platform that helps enterprises to scale up using AI-powered translation services. And let me share a bit about Deepinder. It's pretty interesting. Deepinder started his business, Prudle Labs, back in India, in Bangalore in 2017. He did very well, and he was ready to branch out in the new market. And he moved to Canada in 2019 through the federal government's business immigration program called the Startup Visa Program. He came here with his family, with his business, and zero network. 6 months after landing in Canada, COVID happened. Everything went into a standstill. And Deepinder had to learn to navigate this new ecosystem in these tough times. And today, Prudle Labs, it has clients across 3 continents with 5,000 plus translators supporting in 100 plus languages. That's a great success story, by the way. And he's here supporting the ecosystem. He's also paying forward to the community. He is now mentoring young entrepreneurs and futurepreneurs. And he's also a board member at the Brampton Board of Trade. Let's have an honest conversation with Deepinder and get to unravel his immigrant founder playbook from zero, how he created and carved a niche in the ecosystem, and how he worked on network building and go-to-market strategy. Deepinder, welcome to the Business Blueprint podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you, Preeti, for having me. And thank you for the wonderful introduction about me. All here to discuss and to have an honest conversation about my story and my journey, and hoping that I'll give back to the listeners and to the audience.
And then let's learn about when you moved to Canada. What were the expectations that you had when you were moving to Canada? And what was it that surprised you most about the country and the ecosystem here?
So I moved from Bangalore, India, and I always thought that the west side of the world is moving very fast, because my experience with US as a country or US based clients were really fast. I mean, I closed few deals when I was in Bangalore without even meeting them in person. So I was expecting that Canada is also similar to how US operates from a business standpoint. But when I moved here, and after 6 months and few more months after that, I saw that Canadian do operate in a very slower and more politer version as compared to US. I mean, they take a lot of time to understand you, to build relationships. And then not only building a relationship, but also the credibility, how much credibility you have. And being a new immigrant founder, it is very difficult to build that credibility within few weeks or months. And also, the another reality I understood was pace of decision making was much slower as per my expectation. And especially in the enterprise where B2B market or B2B customers you have. And it was completely a different shift from where it was and what I thought of.
You can say this is like a mindset shift that you had to do, that coming from a fast-paced environment, you had to attune yourself to an environment which takes time in building relationships and getting to know you and building that credibility, right?
That's right. And even if you have a very wonderful product, very innovative product, people love that. But closing that deal is not that straightforward. It takes a lot of time.
So, what do you think is you about the Canadian market that you were able to understand back when you came to Canada? Is it the customer behavior? Was there a certain understanding you could gauge, or business culture and expectations?
I think for me, it was more of listening mode, of trying to understand more on the culture side, on how the business is done, and be more. I mean, I started participating in more conversations with buyers, with different networking groups, just trying to understand what the Canadian behavior is when they have to buy anything new, anything innovative. So I started attending those industry specific events, not just to pitch or to just talk about my product, but just to learn, just to understand the culture, and also trying to understand where and what they can actually buy. Even though you have a great product, it never happens that they will write a check and they will say, okay, let's do another meeting and let's do the implementation. So, so I was more on the listening mode, trying to understand the culture, trying to move along with that pace, and going slow. I think that this market is slow initially.
I agree with you. I kind of resonate. When I moved to Canada, and I used to go for many black coffee meetings with international trade professionals, economic development professionals, and I would let them share about their journey rather than me pitching about, oh, I have this experience, I have that experience. Can you help me in getting a job? My messaging would always be, instead of asking, can you help me with a job? I would tell them, I'm trying to prepare myself for work opportunities in Canada. Can you share about your experience and how did you navigate to explore these opportunities? And I did the same like you, Deepinder, listening to them and understand even those soft skills I felt made a lot of difference. Like coming from my country to here in Canada, it's very different. So listening was actually a good a school for me for building relations. That's true. Now, what were some assumptions that you felt you had about Canada, but it wasn't true?
I see. I come from a corporate background, so I worked for corporates for 15, 16 years before starting my own company in 2017 in India. And then I came to Canada in 2019. So I thought, yes, overall, approximately 19, 20 years, I have a very good experience, corporate life, and people used to recognize me in my industry in India. But everything was like nothing in Canada. Nobody cared a damn about you. Um so that assumption fall flat, where I carry so much weight, but it meant nothing in Canada. And the second assumption was that Canadian buyer will move faster in the tech forward space. So that was also not true in reality. Procurement cycles were longer, which I never anticipated. And when so one of the example I know, I met someone at one of the conferences, and he said, oh, what do you do? I said, okay, we sell product in language translation and services all around that. Nothing happened. After 3 months, I got an email that you met my husband, and I'm looking for translation services. I was like, wow. Then nothing happened immediately. Slowly and eventually, it took almost a year to close that client. So it took a year just from that one conversation until it was like done. But the good part or the flip side of that is, even though Canadians take more time to buy or to procure your product or services, but when you are there in their system, then you are there. I mean, it's very difficult that until unless you make a blunder, they will not take you out, right? So that is also another assumption I had, that it is like hire and fire is quick and easy. No, it is, it takes time. The third assumption was on that I'll send an email, like typical cold outreach I'll do, and it will work. But not at all. It never worked. And what I understood is that apart from cold emails, you need to have a local reference. You need to have someone where, or a platform or a space where you are showcasing yourself all the time, going to those events, just highlighting yourself, just meeting people, which was not there in my country back home. So these were the assumptions I came up with, but now it's a different shift which has happened in my mindset, just to be in that Canadian culture.
As you share your experience, I cannot help but think of my early days in Canada. I remember I used to send cold LinkedIn messages to a few professionals, and it used to be long messages. I never would get any response. And moment I started making my messages shorter, I think I was getting better response from the stakeholders. So there are certain nuances for sure, dependent as you learn to understand the ecosystem here and how to work with the stakeholders. You evolve your approach in building relations with them. Now, I want to talk about the connections, like having no connections at all. Like, what were the first steps that you took to build your network and have meaningful connections?
I think that's the essence, and that's today I say that network is your net worth. So if for example, or when I came, I mean, I only knew a few apps or platform like Meetup, and Eventbrite was one, but nothing specific to what I was looking at. Then again, there is a big difference between India and Canada, where we don't care, or we don't have too much of chamber of commerce there in India, although they are there, but they are not very active. So my first step was start to look out for those kind of platforms, or or chamber of commerce, or anything, any association or any organization which is working for businesses raising their voice or something like that. So I thought that would be a good start. And then looking at local incubators, tech specific incubators, that was another area where I started looking at. So so these were like couple of steps what I have taken to start building my network. And through these board trade, sorry, Brampton Board of Trade, for example, or Chamber of Commerce, or any incubators which are very well renowned in Canadian ecosystem, you be the member and start joining their networking events. I think those were my starting points. And then I also thought, after a year or so, when I have gained some experience, that okay, my experience in India, whatever I was doing, is still valid and still much more aligned to what might be needed by the young entrepreneurs. So I started giving back. So when you give back to and volunteer yourself to these kind of incubators with your expertise and knowledge and time, I think that also gives you some networking opportunity, not only with the budding entrepreneurs, but also when you have events, there are delegations coming, and you be part of those delegations, and that makes a big difference. So I think, just to summarize, so start looking at those incubators which are aligned to your business, to your startup. Second is be part of those organizations, Chamber of Commerce, Board of Trades, and volunteer yourself, and keep going to as many events as you can.
That's also a good suggestion, Blair. I'm sure, like, if there are so many boards of trade and chambers of commerce in the GTA region, I'm sure, like, this is the best investment when you're exploring membership with them, or even head starting in going to their networking events, meeting those members, and understanding how they are benefiting from being part of those institutions or associations. I believe you are also getting an opportunity to profile that you are a proud member of, let's say, Brampton Board of Trade, right? It helps you to even profile you and your business very well. So for networking opportunities, what is it that worked and what is it that didn't work for you?
So I'll start probably from what didn't work for me, because that was my first when I started going to these events. I was just thinking the ROI in terms of my time or the ticket cost for that event, and the time spent. So I immediately started looking at in a transactional way of networking, that hey, I will attend this event. I'll meet maybe 20 people. Out of those, 10 will be my immediate potential client. And maybe when I come back home, I send them email, and then and there is the ROI. So that is something which is not working in Canada and will not work probably, as per my experience. And uh, and again, on the similar lines, when you start having those business cards with you, their contact details, you build your own CRM and say, now I have 100 contacts. I'll start broadcasting the message or sending them the emails, but nobody will reply to those emails because that is a direct sales, and people don't like here. But what worked for me is very important. I think the consistency of showing up to those events. It could be the same community, it could be same set of people, same businesses, but I think that's where you build trust with the businesses, with individuals whom you are meeting, and that takes you to the longer way. And the mentorship programs where involved, like Futurepreneur, JA Ontario Central Program, or other incubators. So I think that gives you a lot of credibility. It could be just posting some pictures on the social media after the event is done, or just summarizing what I have delivered in that session, and you post it on LinkedIn. That gives you a credibility that yes, he is someone who knows what he's doing, and what he wants to share. So I'll say that consistency is important. Showing up on the same community, same businesses, is the key for networking.
Absolutely. It's not just about attending the events, it's about the effort you're taking and building an intentional relationship building uh, with these members, right? Like it's with an intention to build good relations with them. That's why you're attending these events. And yes, volunteering and mentoring. It's a very, I say mentoring is like teaching. It's such a noble thing to do. Your school of hard knocks, you are sharing it with those young entrepreneurs so that they don't repeat the same mistakes. So that's really noble. Dependent. And definitely we should profile ourselves because as immigrant entrepreneurs, as you move here, people don't know you. And now you have built that credibility. Very recently, I had seen an article on LinkedIn where one student was so impressed to learn about your journey and you kind of mentored her as well and shared some nuances on relationship building with her. So if you are making a difference and influencing in a positive way for young students who may probably she may become an entrepreneur one day. Let's hope so. Um, so now we're talking about the credibility. So when you enter a new market, you often have to rebuild the credibility. So how did you establish that trust and build that connection to position yourself in the ecosystem with the stakeholders?
So credibility and positioning are very, very important, and that goes back to your product or the services what you have built. So definitely you need a compelling product or a 10x better product. So where you are passionate about to talk about it, and that's the one first step. I think I don't talk more about my product as such that it will make a difference. Definitely it will, but you don't have to keep talking about it. Rather build local proofs, right? So what I mean to say is that if you start building those case studies, then it makes a big difference. Rather, I say that I can do this for you as my potential client. I started asking the reverse question: what are your problem? What are your challenges? And how can I come in and try to solve your problem with my product and services? So the shift is completely different, or my approach is reverse. Rather, I go and say I have these 10 things to offer to you. Let me ask those 5 challenges from you, and how can I assist you? So when you go as a consultant and an advisor, then to sell your product and service, then the credibility is way different than to just sell your product or service. So that way you're trying to help the business understand the pain point, give a solution, and then if within the solution it could be your solution, because you can't solve the world's hunger problem, you can probably solve something very specific, and then you can again tie up or integrate, have the implementation of any other product, any other technology. So I think taking that reverse approach has really helped me to understand what my customer wants, rather me saying, this is what I have, I can only do this much, right? And I know that startup journey for anyone is like it's a iterative process. On the MVP level, you can have a product, but that product may not fit well for all the businesses. So it takes time when you have to reach it at certain level and say, okay, now you can compare apple to apple, a matured product versus my product. So so you cannot have that when you are just starting your relationship in a new country or building a product in a new country. So taking that reverse approach has really helped me to understand your problem. Then I'll look at what I can deliver within my capacity, and if I have to integrate any other solution from outside in the market.
So listening, definitely listening helps to build those relations. The stakeholders also appreciate that you're listening to their problems, trying to understand the gap, and going back to how Prudle Labs can solve the problem and provide a solution to them. And maybe I'm sure you would also have to mold the offering to them, that make it more customized so that they resonate with it and they appreciate the offering that you're providing. Definitely, so networking and that sincerity in listening to those stakeholders and bringing them the right solution is very important. So we talked about so much about network building, and I want to now focus on go-to-market strategy. I'm sure when you came from India to Canada, you had a certain go-to-market strategy approach. However, definitely it had to be evolved. So what did evolve in your go-to-market strategy when tapping opportunities in Canada?
Uh, One, as I said, so it is a longer cycle to close, right? So that's where the learning has happened. So I started looking at the trusted partners which are within my space. One example could be, let's say, if we sell our product and services to IRCC, they will probably not trust you as a new immigrant, and a lot of other factors within the business. There is no credibility. And but I still know that there is a lot of business going on with the government or any of those departments. So I started looking at those companies, organizations, or individuals who are already part of those larger groups, larger organizations, and how can I do those partnerships? So opening those partnership, the primary channel, or or integrating within their ecosystem uh, was my after a year learning of how this system works. I started to hook to these partnerships with these organizations. And again, all those things what I talked about in terms of the networking and everything, I think everything drills down to the go to market, and these are the kind of strategies where you go to those events, you be part of those groups, organizations, chambers, start building your relationships, and then giving back. All these are kind of my go to market strategies, uh, including these channel partnerships.
So those channel partnerships actually were your collaborators because they helped you to get a foot in the door to working with the key stakeholders, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So now for new entrepreneurs who are moving from their home country to Canada, what is the approach that you would like to suggest to them that they should evolve in their own go-to-market strategy?
Land in that space, that organization, that community where your product will be visible or your services will be visible to others. And then you can echo that in a larger space, and provided if you have expenses or marketing budget, then do those kind of events and showcase yourself. um, and get that first customer. It doesn't matter that that customer has to be a large ticket in terms of the dollar value. So, for example, my first client was like just giving $25 to $50 a month, right? Uh, and they were also growing, or they were also starting then. But now we do a few $1,000s a month with that particular client. So I never say that if today is that client giving me 25 or $50, I'll walk away with that deal, because you never know when that client will grow, that client will become big, and hence he will need your services. So it's more of growing together with that client. Second is leverage the government entry programs. So government has a lot of funding, province level or at a federal level. So I would say if any immigrant is coming to Canada, start leveraging these grants, these funding opportunities. It could be IRAP, SHRED, digital Main Street programs, and various others. So keep looking at that. There are certain tax credits or grants from different incubators also. So that helps. Um, and map that ecosystem before mapping your sales funnel. Understand whom you want to influence. Understand there are events happening all over, but be specific. Be cognizant about your time, where you want to invest. It could be going to a very small gathering of 50 people because you just need that one client to start with. So never underestimate that if there will be just 25 to 50 people in an event, it won't be worth for me. But you just need that one person, and if you can convince out of those 25 that one person to buy your product and service, that's your first start in this country. And also one more thing that I've seen, sometimes most of the immigrant when come, they start giving a perspective that they want to hide that they are new immigrant, right? So do not hide that even if you are a new immigrant. Just be honest in your approach and in your perspective, who you are, and that makes a big difference.
I remember I used to tell to my past clients who moved to Canada through the startup visa program, I would tell them, whenever you are approaching a stakeholder or meeting a new contact, be very proud to share that you came to Canada through the federal government's startup visa program, because you have an innovative solution which is going to contribute in the economic development of the country. That's why you got an opportunity to branch out and to scale up with, you want to tap into the North American market with a pathway in Canada. So I think very true. I never hide that you're an immigrant. Take pride, like you come with experience, and your home country gave you the strength. You have your roots strong in your home country, but it gave you the strength to branch out and make a new country your new home. So definitely be very proud of what you're doing. I don't know. I think somehow I find this so, I resonate this as entrepreneurship to that of as an immigrant, even moving to Canada simply for work opportunity, someone like me. So I really resonate what you're sharing here, Deepinder. So one last question I definitely want to ask you. Any school of hard knocks that you have had, you want to share it with our listeners so they can be more mindful about it?
Oh yeah. I think I can tell one of the examples. We were working with one of the prospects, um, and that was a tedious process from procurement to demoing and whatnot. Um, so everything was done, almost there, like 95% we were there. And after 6 months, we got the rejection. And rejection was that we are not comfortable with you because you don't have local references, right? So it's again a chicken story where how do you get those first couple of references if you are not accepted by other businesses? So that was the realization that, as I said before, I you don't have to look at the mass or the volume that I will go to the event if there are 1,000 people. You have to be very specific on what you what you want to get out of those networking events. So I will say stop optimizing for volume and start optimizing for the depth of relationship. That depth of relationship is very, very important. And sometimes that relationship is there for a couple of years or 3 years, and you see that you're not getting anything, but all of a sudden that relationship will start giving you something. That one connection from that person can turn the tables around. So I'll say focus more on building relationship, be consistent in what you do, and networking is the key.
And be sincere, right? Like it's so important. Even for me, like the in my early days, all those people, I used to be in Ottawa before, all those people who helped me, I still stay in touch with them. So I'm very grateful because they gave me a chance. So even when I was doing contract jobs, they gave me a chance. And because I could add it into my resume and I was looking later for opportunities in Toronto, it helped. You talked about your client who was giving you monthly of $25, $50, and then it increased to hundreds of and thousands of dollars. Or about, you gave an example of one more contact, and there was no connection later with that person, but somebody from his network reached out to you. Oh, I think it was the wife, you said, right? The spouse reached out. So it's a small ecosystem here. It's all about investing time and sincerely building that relationship, which will reap benefits to you. That relationship building will not be quantifiable, but when those benefits start to come in, you'll really appreciate how much of the time you've put into the relationship has helped you to grow and adapt and increase the credibility in the ecosystem here.
Of course, 100%.
What I gather from this is like adaptation is not your weakness, it's your greatest strength. And coming to Canada, the main playbook that you're trying to say that we need to listen, we need to adapt, and we need to provide the right solution to the ecosystem players here. So this is very helpful, Deepinder. Thank you so much for sharing those nuggets of wisdom with us.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Loved it.
So keep, we wish you all the best. Keep carving a niche, and I really appreciate that you are supporting young entrepreneurs, not just a futurepreneur. You said there are a few more organizations that you are part of. So keep making a difference, and we are very happy to have you here in the Business Blueprint podcast. And listeners, if you found this valuable, please feel free to reach out to Deepinder. He's very active on LinkedIn. You should check out his LinkedIn articles. You find it like it. He writes it with his heart, and you resonate, and you find a connection. And we appreciate the experience that he shares. So please feel free to connect with Deepinder on LinkedIn. I share his LinkedIn details in the description, and check out his company website, prudlelabs.com. And in regards with this episode, I hope that you found it valuable. And if yes, please share it with your network. If you know someone who is already building a business or who's exploring to start a business, please share the link for the Business Blueprint podcast. And we'll be seeing you in the next episode soon. So have a lovely day. Thank you so much. This is Priti here from the Business Blueprint podcast.